Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum da-da-dum ba-da-dum-da-dum-da-dum-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun da-dun-da-da-dum ba-da-dum-da-dum dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun bum ba-da-da. It's too high for me. Hello, my friends. Can you hear me? I hope you can all hear me tonight. Oh my gosh. Welcome, my friends. Hello, hello. It's wonderful to see you all here. Happy Monday, says Angela. Hello, hello. Hi, Kimberly. Hello, Nancy from Yorktown. Hi, from New Jersey, says Susan. And we've got people from Facebook and my mighties. Yes, I can hear you, says Kimberly. And we're also on Twitter and YouTube tonight, as well as Facebook. We're working on it. We're traveling. We're getting around. It's a good thing. You can hear me loud and clear. Hope it wasn't too loud. Hi from St. Louis. Yes, beautiful singing. I don't think so, but thank you for saying it's my kids call it cringeworthy. And my kids are adults. It's not like they're young kids who say, "Oh, Mom, that's horrible." No, they still. Oh, hello from rainy Orlando. Hi, Lee. Wonderful. Nice to see you, Deanne from Wisconsin. And good evening, my friends. It's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and on Monday night. And we do the same thing every Monday night. And that is, we do one thing and one thing only, and that is we study homeopathy. I teach you what I know. I love to hear what you have to say because this is how we progress in our understanding of homeopathy. And that's what we do every Monday night. So for those of you who already know me and know all of this, good evening, my friends. It's great to see you all. I never feel alone on Monday nights. It's such a great feeling. And I love teaching. I teach a lot on Zoom. I teach a lot through the Gateway study groups. If you're not a member or you've never taken a Gateway study group journey, you might want to look into that. And you simply just go to my website, joettecalabrese.com, and take a look at Joette's Learning Center. And there you can find how to join a study group. You can start one. You can join one. If you're not sure what to do, then just contact my office and speak to Eileen. She's great. So tonight we are going to talk about ditching the DEET. Now, I know that it's pretty unlikely there's anyone here who would use DEET. Pretty much, right? Can't wait for Gateway again with Dr. Christy Corder. Yeah, she does a very nice job. Yep, she's one of our ACE students. And so she makes a wonderful Gateway leader. We got a lot of good Gateway leaders. At any rate, ditch the DEET. Why would we ever spray anything on our bodies that we wouldn't eat? Would you eat the DEET? You wouldn't. Would you spray it in your child's mouth? No. How serious are the insects? First of all, I'm not going to get into it too deeply tonight, but stop worrying about insect bites unless you've got someone who's very allergic. Very allergic. Don't worry about ticks. I'm sorry. I just don't worry about them. Now, I'm not out in the woods, but my children were a great deal when they were growing up. We had goats and chickens and ducks, and my kids were out in the woods constantly. If you see a tick, don't freak. Don't even give it a thought. You just use the homeopathic medicine, and we'll cover that tonight too. And you call it a day. That's it. We're done. Don't worry about it. These homeopathic medicines, first of all, let me tell you this. Once you learn these medicines, I'm going to tell you, trust your medicines. Trust that they will act. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, what if they don't? Well, what if they do? And so do think in terms of it's more likely that nothing will happen than that something will happen. That's not just Pollyanna speech. It is what I see time and again. We are taught to worry. We are taught to be frightened. We are taught to constantly think about all the things that are coming down the pike, and that is what brings us to our knees. Now let's talk about mosquitoes, okay? Mosquito bites. Don't worry about mosquito bites if they're just, your kids are playing, they get a mosquito bite, no problemo. Really, don't worry about it. So it's a little itchy. It's part of the summer. But there is a line that we have to consider when we cross over. And someone was just saying we get eaten up by going to Trinidad. Oh, someone here says, I suffer from chronic Lyme and co-infections. Ticks are not my friend. I'm sorry, Brenda. Read up on what I've written about that whole way of thinking. Okay, there is a different way of thinking here about Lyme. And it is not conventional. Homeopathy is not conventional medicine. And I see it much, much differently than most. So if someone gets eaten up, I mean really eaten up, or you're going someplace where you know that the insects are going to be really maddening, then we can use a homeopathic medicine, have it on hand. Should it happen, use it after it happens, and most likely the condition will be resolved. Now let's say we know we're going into an infestation that is absolutely over the top. Put that aside, we'll talk about that in a moment. This is where I go. First of all, I look to my course called Survivalist Guide to Homeopathy, and I cover all kinds of infections, all kinds of diseases, et cetera, and what to do about them. But we're going to tackle one today, and we're going to use Robin Murphy's repertory. I use this a lot to show you how I go about finding the medicines. Now, this is when we don't know what to use, but I'm going to tell you what you do need to use. So we're going to go to the clinical or general section, and we're going to look under bites. If you happen to have this version, this is the 4th edition of the Meta Repertory by Robin Murphy. We're going to look on page 2103, and we're going to look at bites, general animals and insects from. So we're going to slide down the page, and we're going to look at bites. What kind of bites? Animal bites, dog bites, cat bites, spider bites, etc. And we're going to go all the way to this section right here, and we're going to look at flea bites and insects in general, and then leeches, and then mosquitoes. So mosquitoes are our main concern today. And then we also have rat bites, septic, in other words, a bite that turns septic, snake bites, spider bites, and swelling with bites. But we're going to start with mosquitoes, okay? Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 medicines. I'm going to point this out to you. I'm going to put my finger just above what we call the rubric. I hope you can see this properly. Can you see that? There are 4 medicines there. I'll try to hold the book very still. I'm hoping you can see this because I can't see my own screen. All right. And I'll read them to you. There are 4 remedies that are specific for mosquito bites. Calendulum, ledum, hypericum, and stephysagria. If they burn and itch intensely, not calendula, I'm sorry, it's caladium. It's caladium. So I'll read it again. Mosquitoes. I'm sorry, I'm not reading very carefully. Mosquito bites. Caladium, ledum, hypericum, and stephysagria. Now, we could choose, we're not going to choose all 4 of them, are we? We're going to use one that's based on how it's presenting. Let's start with the fact that all we know is that these mosquito bites are itchy. Not maybe necessarily intensely itchy, but they are itchy. We're going to use either caladium, ledum, hypericum, or stephysagria. Caladium is bold, and it has a more valuable position in this rubric. No, can't see it. I'm going to try it again, okay? Mosquitoes. Let's see. I'm going to get even closer. Let's see if I can get right up there. Can you see mosquitoes right there? Just below my index finger? Mosquitoes. Bites, mosquitoes. And there are those 4 remedies. Caladium. Where we go? Let's get back to this again. Caladium, ledum, hypericum, and Staphysagria. Now, I've written blogs on this, and I have always used ledum. Now, whether it's ledum too blurry, I'm so sorry. Whether it's a mosquito bite or another kind of insect bite in general, including ticks, I almost always use ledum. Ledum. It's backwards. Well, I'm so sorry. So that's why it's good that I read it to you. So, ledum 200. Once the person has gotten bitten by a mosquito, a honeybee, a tick, any one of those insects that have a little stinger, it's not a bite like this, like a snake bite, or where the fangs go into the body. It's a stinger, so it's got a very precise, sharp entry into the skin. I almost always use ledum, Ledum 200C. I've never used ledum in a 30 or a 6 or a 1M. I just always used it in a... Oh, thank you, Tara, for writing it out for me. Thank you. I've always used it in a 200C. And that often will take care of the itching and the difficulty in itching, swelling, burning. Ledum 200C well, it depends on how severe it is. If you give a dose of ledum 200C after a number of bites and it calms it down, then you wait until it comes back up again and you reuse it again. So if it's 2 hours after the first dose, then you use it in 2 hours. If it's 15 minutes after the first dose, you use it in 15 minutes. If it's very extreme, we often will use ledum 200C every 15 minutes for the first hour. But more often than not, it's not that severe. Now, let me also tell you that caladium is very specific for mosquitoes, and so I would own that medicine, Caladium. And I would own that in a 30 and a 200 potency, and I would also own ledum 200. Now, having said all of this, I've had people report to me that they often use Staphysagria. It is one of the medicines here. Staphysagria, Stapha, I'm just thinking it off the top of my head, Asagria, Staphysagria. Remember, this is Latin, my friends. It's phonetic. Super easy to figure out, but somebody will write it in here for us. Thank you, says Tara. Staphysagria. Some people have found that if they use Staphysagria 200C prophylactically before they go out into the mosquito-laden or the especially insect-laden area, that they can be protected. But there is a caveat, my friends. I am not telling you that one should be taking homeopathic medicines prophylactically unless there is a very sound argument for doing so. In other words, if your kids come back from playing in the woods and they've got a couple bites, that, in my estimation, that is not pathology. That is within the range of normal. And we are talking about pathology here. We use these medicines for a pathology, for a condition, for a specific suffering. But if your children go out into the woods and there's one child especially who's just covered in them, the mosquitoes find him or her and they bite like mad, and this child can't sleep at night, etc., and it is really a problem, then and pretty much only then would I say use Staphysagria 200C prophylactically, say an hour or so before the child plans to go outside. And if the bites still occur, and they likely will, but not to the same degree, it'll be less intense, There won't be as many bites. It'll last for a shorter period of time, the itching that does occur. And there'll be a larger space between each episode of the itching events or the itching episodes. Because itching from bites is not all day, all night. It seems like that when you're suffering, doesn't it? But what it really is, oh my gosh, this is so itchy right now. I just took a shower and it's so itchy. Or, oh my gosh, I can't sleep. The itching is so intense. But during the day, you were able to carry on with your duties. So we're looking for, once we use the medicine, Leadum 200 or Staphysagria 200, we're looking for a reduction in the intensity. And that's how we know that it is a good choice. Now, Caladium is a very good medicine specifically for mosquitoes, and especially if there's burning and itching. You wouldn't use Apis 30 for bee sting. I read your article saying use Apis 30 if hot, Leadum if cold swelling. I encountered an 8-year-old with sting this weekend and treated her with Apis 30 every 15 minutes. Per your article, it didn't seem to bring it down. Later, I heard from her mom, her entire face swelled up. The next day, she was okay. So it's hard to say. Did that keep her the next day? She was okay. Her entire face, I'm not sure I understand the whole picture, but Apis is specific for a bee bite, a bee sting that is hot and swelling, especially if there's swelling, edematous swelling around the eyes, or quite edematous swelling wherever the bite has occurred, or if it's hot. Now that's Apis, but there's also Leadum where it's cool and feels better from a cool touch. I've had very good success with a wet spray of Ferrum Phos topical for mosquito bites. Nice job, Nancy. I think that's a great idea. There are many medicines that we can choose here, my friends. And I'm going to tell you a story about myself with when I was attacked, and I mean attacked, by no-see-ums. I was on a boat in the Bahamas on my husband's uncle's boat, and we were hanging out in the shallow water talking to people as the sun was setting, and that's when the no-see-ums come out. And I felt them biting, but I was rather unfamiliar with what it felt like. And I just put up with it thinking, oh, it's just a little stinging, a little itch, a little sting. Well, by the time we got back to the boat, I was covered, and I mean covered from head to toe with insect bites. The no-see-ums, they're smaller. They're called no-see-ums because you can barely see them. And they were, I was covered in it, in these bites. Now, they weren't just itchy. My heart started to race. I felt very anxious. It was an allergic reaction that started to set in. I felt excitable. I was pacing. I was restless. I could not calm down. And so I knew that sensation that is related to being poisoned, because even though an insect bite is a poison of sorts, you're not actually being poisoned unless it's quite severe. And this was severe. My face was covered, my neck, my chest, less and less further down my body because I was standing in shallow water, so my legs were not as exposed. You bet, Leanne, Arsenicum album. It was miraculous. And let me tell you how it worked. Don't expect it to work this way for all of you because it was a unique situation. But when it does work this way, you will know what it is you're observing. I took Arsenicum 30, and I took it, and my face was swollen, lumps everywhere. The itching was maddening. I took Arsenicum album 30, and the redness and the swelling and the intensity was very extreme. And after I took it, after, seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, it started to go down. In other words, the worst part, which was my face, was much less intense. It had calmed down on my face, but now it was itching, like maddeningly itchy on my neck and my chest. And it started to go down. It's almost as though it was in segments of my body. And then it went down a little bit further. And when it was down, all the way down, and the itching calmed down, this was in minutes, the whole scenario. I could feel myself relax. My heart was no longer racing. I felt no more anxiety. But then, shortly after, I don't know, it's hard to remember. It was so long ago. 40 minutes, 30 minutes later, it started again. But this time, it was burning and itchy and really maddening on my face again, but not as severe as it had been 40 minutes previous. Started up again, went down here. Now it was on my chest, dropped down to my torso. And by that time, I was so exhausted, and that's a big part of arsenicum, being fully exhausted, and you feel like the blood's been sucked out of you. I laid down and fell asleep and slept the rest of the night. The next day, normally with no CMs, you're still itchy the next day. Nope, it wasn't needed. Yes. Oh, interesting. Polly's saying that swelling happened to my husband with shrimp. Shrimp is a whole different thing. It's not an insect. Of course, it looks a lot like an insect, but it's not an insect. But I will tell you that apis is very specific, my friends, to shellfish allergies. Apis. So we're talking about apis. We're talking about arsenicum just a minute ago, arsenicum album 30. We're talking about Staphysagria 200 prophylactically. We're talking about, let's make sure I've got all of these, Ledum 200 when there's been something of measure, a sting of measure. That's the way we're looking at all of this. Urtica for shrimp. Yes, Urtica or Urens is also great for shrimp. You're absolutely right, for shrimp allergies. But I find that apis is one of our best. So when somebody has a shrimp allergy, shouldn't you own both of those, Urtica, Urens, and apis? When somebody has an allergic reaction, wouldn't we also to insects, to mosquitoes? Shouldn't we also have on hand Ledum, Staphysagria, arsenicum if it gets to the poisonous specific? You bet. I thought Urtica urens was specific to shellfish for allergies. You're absolutely right, and so is apis. They are both. I know that in the repertory, it's probably under Urtica urens, but apis is amazing, particularly if there's swelling. Calendula ointment on a mosquito bite helps me a lot, says Lee. Thank you. That's good information. I used apis 200 and Ledum for my son. My son's 5 wasp stings 2 weeks ago was amazing. I also gave him some cell salts. I totally panicked and threw the kitchen sink at him. But it worked, Shannon. It worked. You did it. This medicine, owning this medicine, gives you something more than just ownership of a medicine. It gives you freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from anxiety. Freedom from the fear that you're going to have to run to the hospital or to emergency care. It gives you power that you didn't even know you had, my friends. You didn't even know, and now you do. Serve somebody else. No CMs, never heard of this. I wonder if they're like sandflies. No, sandflies are different. They are different. Sandflies do cause swelling in the eyes for some people. It's a specific allergic reaction. And that, my friends, that swelling around the eyes from sandflies is often apis. What potency apis? Well, I don't give you an exact potency because, to be honest, I've found apis works in a 6, a 30, a 200, 1M. If you have a kit, it's not a bad idea to use your to own a homeopathy kit and then be able to use each one of those medicines and carry them with you. Okay. Caladium is very specific, as I said, for mosquito bites. There's a lot more to this medicine, but we're not going to go into it because what we are most interested in is how it works specifically for mosquitoes. So I would use it in a 30. You could also use it in a 200, but I would definitely own it in a 30. And if many of the kits carry caladium in a 30, all of these medicines that I've discussed so far, I'm pretty sure are carried in most 30th potency kits. I never need to get some. Oh, I need to get some Staphylococcus aureus. Yes, you do. My friends own these medicines. Purchase them directly from a good homeopathic pharmacy. That's OHM if you're a student or a client of mine. It's Boron that you can purchase directly from them, Boron USA or Boron Canada. Helios in England, Hahnemann Pharmacy in California, Washington Homeopathics. These are all very good homeopathic pharmacies that we can count on. Okay, definitely Apis reduced swelling. My daughter had allergy. Her face was swollen, and I gave her Apis. It's helped. Yeah, it should do more than help. It should really resolve the condition, and if it's not taking it all the way, I'm glad it helped. But if it's not taking it all the way, you need a couple more doses of it. What distinguishes Staphylococcus aureus as the remedy to take after bites? Let me think. Staphylococcus aureus is specific for insect bites I see it more as a prophylactic. Can be used after insect bites occur, but I see it more as a prophylactic in advance when it is truly called for, which means it is truly this person is going to suffer tremendously. It is a pathology. Then you use it. Please don't use these medicines. Please don't use these medicines just because you know what they are. It's always better to use them as a medicine. Do you treat malaria by symptom or just Staphylococcus aureus to repel the bugs? Well, if you go to my course titled, it's a big book that has all of the conditions that are. Pardon me? Survival. Yeah. That have all of the conditions that are most noteworthy in human suffering is called Survivalist Guide to Homeopathy. And we use both. We use one as the medicine specifically for the condition, the disease, and then we use another as to how it presents. I've heard to use Staphylococcus aureus at a 3C or a 6C preventatively. It can be used in a 3, a 6, a 30, a 200. I'm very allergic to bee stings, can't breathe, and gets very, very swollen. Doctor says I have to use an EpiPen. You need a new doctor, my friend. You need a doctor who is on the same page as you. You want a doctor who doesn't tell you to go to pharmaceuticals without knowing any other method. There are doctors out there who do know how to use homeopathy and alternative methods. Yep, allergic to bee stings, can't breathe. Can't breathe most likely because the uvula, the mucosa of the throat, the tongue perhaps, are swollen with edema. That is Apis, right? Who else has used Apis for that condition? Doesn't mean you don't have an EpiPen there just in case, but I've had far too many people describe to me exactly that situation, and on the way to the hospital, they've got their EpiPen there and they use Apis, and it's I've had it reported to me how it works so well. Frozen. Okay, sorry, I don't know what's happening. I'm not frozen. I mean, you're not frozen for me. Yeah, just refresh the page. That Survivalist Guide is fantastic. Thank you for saying. And the kit that follows. There's a very specific kit for that particular book. Just completed that guide after 9/11. Yes, I have severe shellfish allergies and never leave home without my Apis. You bet, my friends. Not frozen. Okay, not frozen. There we go. I think we have got it. My friends, for those of you who are interested in digging more deeply, take a look at my courses on Joette's Learning Center at my site, JoetteCalabrese.com. How is my knee, says Nancy. I'll talk about it next time.
And tell them what you're doing tonight.
Well, yes, tonight we are inaugurating our our next class. This is year 3 for our academy. We have a very full class, actually even a little larger than last year's class. We are pretty excited about this. I can't wait to see everyone and meet them all tonight, and we're going to get started right away. They've got homework. Bam! They start right into the homework today or this weekend. All right, my friends, wonderful to see you all. God bless you. Mwah. See you next week. I'll tell you about my knee next time. Take care. Bye now. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bellaso red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to wheat are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bellaso red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to wheat are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bellaso red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to wheat are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenic of fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to weed are some great ways to treat ya. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenic of fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to weed are some great ways to treat ya. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.